This is the question we're asking this morning. Will this man be leaving the Premier League this summer?
Across by Rashford, and there is Pogba, and he does with a flying header which Kepa Arrizabalaga cannot hold, and Manchester United lead by 2-0 on the stroke of half-time. Pogba started it, Pogba finished it, and Manchester United might have finished off Chelsea before the break.
Yeah, it's been widely speculated in the papers this morning that Paul Pogba's future at Manchester United could well be coming to an end. It seems as though, Cass, PSG are very strongly interested in the Frenchman. And it could be a case then with, not long left on his contract, just 1 year left, in fact, of his deal at Manchester United. The powers that be at United will be looking to cash in this summer. When you think back to when he was bought by Manchester United back in 2016, he was 89 million pounds. The rumour is around about 40 odd million that they could get. Is that good business, do you think?
Well, I think if you look at his 5 years so far, how has he done? And I think you'd probably give him a sort of a 7 to an 8. He's had moments of brilliance, and he's certainly a top quality footballer. Has he done it often enough for Manchester United? No, and the level at United has to be consistency and playing well week in, week out. And I think he's had that in large parts. He can be a game changer. I've seen him do it many a time, not only for United but for France. 6 goals last season for United, which is not a bad return, but there's too many times he's played in a more defensive role. My gut feeling, and I always think of Sir Alex Ferguson. One thing I was always told: if he ever thought you wanted to leave the club, or you were muting it around in the game, you wanted to go, you ain't staying at United. And I think that is the sort of attitude I think needs to be used at United for players, that they don't command too much at the football club. And there has been times via his agent and him not wanting to sign a new deal. If you don't want to sign a new deal at Manchester United, that's a big thing. And is it money driven? Well, he's on nearly £300,000 a week. So I personally think it's probably the time, if you can get a good offer, to let him go and find someone. And there's many out them. Saul Niguez is out there at Barcelona. You could obviously offer for Declan Rice and a number of others. They're top players out there in that position. You could, for me, improve. Declan Rice wouldn't get the numbers, but it certainly add a lot to the midfield and the dynamic of a midfield that I think Ollie would want to use, someone of that talent. There is a lot of... It's really crazy because you're talking about such a fantastically gifted player that hasn't been as consistent for a 5-year period. And
that is the problem, I suppose. A team like Manchester United cannot be... they can't afford to carry players at times. They need their players to performing week in,
but what's it
week
like
out.
Now, I always say this question: if someone doesn't want to commit to you, in anything in life, whether it's a work partner, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a football club, and a footballer doesn't want to commit his future to United, and has made it quite clear that he's not really willing to negotiate a new contract, then you have to sever your ties. You have to say, well, look, we know how good he can be. But if he doesn't want to do it with us, and his agent is looking around and supposedly talking to other clubs in Europe, then I think that you have no option but to get the best fee you can for him and move on.
Is there ever a case, though, that you think, do you know what, sometimes you need to keep hold of them, even if it means they're going into that last year of a contract, probably leaving the club on a free the following year? Is there ever a case that you should do that?
Yes. Of course there is. Not every circumstance this is the way you have to go. But I would add that if, say, for example, Danny Ings at Southampton, I don't want to sell him for 20, 25, 30 million pounds. I don't want to, because the prize money in the Premier League is 130. So obviously that scenario doesn't happen to Man United. They're not going to be in a Premier League to stay up battle. Right. Okay, well, Ings is very important to them to keep them in the Premier League. So I don't want to sell Danny Ings. But if it got so bad that he was so desperate and was rocking the boat at the football club, you would probably... And I don't believe Danny Ings would do that, because from what I hear, he's a fantastic pro. A bit of the Harry Kane mode, that even if, he stays at the club, he's giving his all. I'm I'm not so sure Pogba's done that at times. I think there's been periods where he's not so keen on putting on the red shirt and showing what he's worth to the fans, because there are differences, yes.
Obviously, France's Euro campaign, by their standards, was disastrous, and we've heard all about the fallout within the camp and different issues, let's say. But it's long been talked about, long been documented, that Paul Pogba for France is very different to Paul Pogba for Manchester United. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think, first and foremost, not taking this the wrong way, I think he loves playing for France. And being a World Cup winner with France makes a slightly different, approach to why he wants to play for them. When you've won the major trophy for your country, and that eagerness to jump on a plane or whatever you do, get up with your teammates and be around, winners that are being very successful. You look at their team, there's got players who have won everything in their squads, So I think that probably is a bit of a driving force for him. You could argue that France at their best are probably a better team than Manchester United. And also Didier Deschamps has played in positions that probably he would argue he enjoys more and feels like has more of an impact on a football game. It's really weird, because we're not talking about a player here that's played poorly. He's had moments of not being great, but I think it's very hard to say he's not a terrific player, because he is.
But it's that hot and cold, I suppose. It's the lack of consistency.
You've paid a world record fee for him, Nat.
Yeah.
So you're expecting world record performances, not every game, but regular. And over a course of a season, he's got to show why they paid a world record fee for him, which he hasn't done.
talkSPORT Breakfast with Laura Woods, Monday to Wednesday mornings 6 till 10. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.